咁首先有請行政長官啦。首先有請行政長官去台前啦，可以影張相先，唔該。好，可以話右邊嘅傳媒朋友。我哋可以望下上面嘅傳媒朋友嘅。再講望下邊啦。好，我哋都差唔多啦，唔該。司機最後你邊啦？
我睇個白枕。
好，唔該晒。歡迎各位傳媒朋友啦，嚟到行政長官2025年施政報告嘅記者會啦。今日嘅記者會分開兩 part 嘅，咁首先我哋會請行政長官啦介紹施政報告，另外之後咧就會傳媒嘅提問環節。咁我想首先有請行政長官，唔該。
首先好多謝大家係一齊嚟到呢度咧，出席我嘅記者招待會。我知道大家對今次嘅施政報告裏邊咧，一定有好多問題嘅，係好正常嘅。因為咧，今次我所擺喺施政報告裏邊嘅政策咧，除咗係一般性嘅短中長以外咧，我係好重視嘅策略部署。我或者同大家解下我今次喺施政報告編寫嘅時候嘅理念係點。我3年上任以嚟咧，係好積極去做改革，去將我認為我嘅基礎應該點建設。所以喺3年嚟咧，我係不斷以改革求變為重心，喺特別係凝聚共識，去等無論係政府或者社會都有一個改革嘅意識。否則嚟講，我推任何政策、任何改革，冇人接受、冇人認同，係做唔到嘅。經過3年嘅推動之下咧，我覺得我建立咗一個相當堅實嘅基礎。咁呢個基礎導致我可以咩咧？除咗針對現時嘅問題，我仲可以更加全面咁做策略部署。咁所以除咗係短中期去針對我哋社會一致都認同嘅一啲方向，我制定政策以外咧，我係重視長遠嘅規劃同埋系統性嘅佈局。咁所以通過咗改革同埋部署，我覺得我哋嘅發展方向會更清晰。所以今次嘅施政報告其實係改革加部署，更全面嘅。2個主軸係我施政裏邊多年嚟嘅都好重視嘅，就係發展經濟、改善民生。發展經濟可以導致我哋有能力可以創造到財富、創造到資源去做改革，而改革嘅最終目的係改善民生。所以我嘅今次施政報告裏面咧嘅主題就係深化改革、心繫民生、發揮優勢、 同創未來。呢個主題嘅理念係咩呢？剛才我講咗啦，我用3年嚟做改革，打好咗基礎。咁而家我係要深化，即係話我要做深做廣，我覺得係有條件㗎。我做嚟做乜咧？為咗民生，所以心係民生就係我第2句喺主題裏邊，我想強調俾大家聽。因為施政最終嘅目的係市民福祉。咁我點樣做到呢樣嘢咧？點樣去發展經濟，令到市民嘅福祉因為經濟而更加變得更好咧？其中我覺得喺呢個時間發揮優勢係好重要。點解咧？好多嘢係新嘅，例如世界嘅貿易秩序重塑，例如我哋經過咗過去3年由亂到治，我哋好穩健嘅基礎啦。另外，我嘅政府，我覺得佢哋好支持我嘅施政理念，好團結咁樣一齊做嘢啦。所以我哋嘅精力可以好集中嘅，我哋更加要利用好我啲優勢。我哋不斷用我啲優勢，但係有幾個優勢咧，你睇到施政報告裏邊咧強調咗嘅。呢啲優勢一直存在，但係咧而家更強。所以我要發揮優勢咧，呢一啲我一定要話俾大家聽，你都要用好，因為要創造個價值咧係政府話方向，係成個社會去共同創造個價值嚟嘅。咁我哋會令到我哋有更好嘅未來，更好嘅未來其實一定係體現喺邊度咧？喺市民嘅民生嗰方面嘅。咁所以我嘅施政報告裏邊第9章壓軸專章係重點講喺民生方面嘅不同地方。咁或者我首先講下民生嘅問題。民生係施政嘅初心，係我多年嚟我經常講施政嘅初心，因為市民福祉先至係每一個政府希望可以做到最好，而令到成個家園咧都大家更溫暖。但係我哋面對緊咩壓力咧？我哋財政係有壓力嘅，所以大家都知道啦，我哋仲係有財赤，我哋嘅儲備咧亦都比以前咧係少咗。咁所以喺做民生嘅工程咧，我哋必定要定下優次，有3方面嘅優次決定咧。其實多年嚟咧，我都覺得係定得啱嘅。係邊3方面咧？就係我哋嘅社會福利啦、醫療啦同埋教育。醫療同埋教育咧，其實影響所有人啦。因為無論你係年紀幾大，你係有一個家庭嘅，呢啲都一定影響你。社會福利當然啦，係弱勢社群咧係特別要照顧嘅。所以其實醫療教育係影響緊所有香港人，受惠於所有香港人。所以我哋喺呢度加大資源係應該嘅。社福我哋幫弱勢社群可以去到特別嘅。咁我哋其實我哋使幾多錢落去咧？咁喺呢3個範疇裏邊咧，其實咧我係用咗政府經常性開支嘅60%。60%咩概念咧？呢度係3個局，我有15個局，即係每個局咧，如果我平分嘅資源咧，就係大約係有唔夠8%度咧，每個局8乘15都係12啦嚇。即係所以，如果你15個局除落去咧，係唔平分嘅。咁所以我哋而家喺我哋社會福利、醫療同埋教育咧，佔我哋60%咧，或者你可以講呢度係3個局，我有15個局，15個局3個局係佔佢大約嗰20%，但係佢用緊60%嘅資源。即係話，如果以比例嚟講咧，第二啲局同呢3個局咧嘅資源咧係差唔多1與2或者1與3之比，睇下佢係邊個局啦。但係我都覺得係重要，因為呢個係長遠嚟講咧係對於所有人都有影響。好啦，其實我哋使幾多錢咧咁？如果喺社會福利嗰方面咧，我哋係使3.57億；喺醫療方面係3.16億；教育嘅開支係2.82億。但我講緊呢個係每日， 唔係每個月，唔係每年。咁即係話咧，我哋而家今日我哋係半日㗎啦嚇。半日嚟講咧，我哋嘅社會福利咧已經使咗係大約1.8億啦。如果3.5億嘅話，一日。咁所以咧，3個範疇加入咧，每日咧就係使9.6億，差唔多10億。咁即係所以我哋喺做咁大嘅咁大量嘅工作裏邊咧，點樣去平分資源咧，係一個經常我係要思考嘅。咁我點解重視講呢樣嘢咧？就係話，因為我覺得呢3樣嘢咧，同民生嘅關係好密切。一個醫療教育係所有人都影響，另外弱勢社群係要靠社會福利。咁我上任之後咧，其實喺呢方面不斷係增加資源嘅，係比我上任嘅時候咧多咗20%。由上任嘅時候唔夠3000億，到而家係3500億，係多咗大約咧係2成嚇，有560億。好啦，喺民生專章裏邊咧，我唔逐一講，但係咧，我想重點講嚇，每一個領域咧重點講一啲，咁啊大家之後可以提問。喺房屋方面，我係重視，我上任嘅時候都係房屋係重中之重，特別喺公營房屋方面。咁所以我哋增加供應，亦都豐富個置業階梯。其中，例如我哋喺公營房屋方面，未來5年，我哋嘅供應量係咩咧？我哋嘅供應量係189000。數目對你可能講係未必有概念，但係呢個比我上任嘅。
But I can tell you it's an increase by about 80% compared to the time when I first took office. Thanks to the work of everyone at that post, we successfully changed the pattern of small production at the beginning and larger production at the end. At the beginning, the pattern was about 30% at first and 70% towards the end. But now, in the first 5 years, we can supply 60% of the supply and about 40% towards the end. The composite waiting time for public housing has reduced by 1 year, which is now 5.1 years. And there is something that I have worked heavily on. The supply of a home ownership scheme in the coming 5 years will increase by 50%. When it comes to housing, I hope that for different groups, in particular the grassroots, they will be able to move up. They can make use of white form or the green form purchase or the HOS scheme to own a flat. We want to increase the supply by 50%. In addition to enabling ownership, I can also achieve another goal. I'll increase the capacity of green form subsidized home ownership scheme. I increase the ratio from 4 to 6 to 5 to 5. When a tenant has purchased a flat, then the tenant household vacates the public housing for another household. Well, the secondary market for HOS is very popular. That's why we increased the quota by about 1,000 when it comes to white form secondary market scheme. Now is 7,000. When it comes to the alienation restriction for the green form HOS or HOS, the period has been reduced from 15 to 10 years. That means in 10 years' time, you will be able to buy a flat in the private sector. There was one time when the situation was different because speculation was rampant. But the situation is different now. It'll be good to give people a choice. That's in terms of housing. You'll find the details in the chapter. I just want to explain to you why I attach emphasis on this.
Hi.
On healthcare. It is a major area out of the 3 areas I mentioned. There are many measures in policy addressed on public housing. It is also the case for healthcare. For cataract, we want to enhance efficiency of treatment services provided. With our reform of the healthcare system, we will be able to increase 10% to 20% of our service capacity. For specialist services, with our reforms, we can also shorten 10% of the waiting time. That is about 10 weeks. For knee joint services, we specifically mentioned this because there is keen demand for such services. If we provide more in preventive care, we believe there will be less demand in treatment services in future. That's for public health care. For primary health care, ever since we have promulgated primary health care, we have seen an increase in the use of such services and the number of users. We want to have district health care centers in all 18 districts. Some districts only have district health center expresses at the moment, so we do want to increase the number of centers. We also want to provide more in Hep B screening. We have included this as a part of our chronic disease management. Since we have already established the Primary Health Care Commission, we now need legal foundations to make sure we can provide comprehensive primary health care services, to provide them in an efficient manner as well. So we may change some laws in, say, the referral arrangements. We will also enhance cancer treatment and care. On Chinese medicine development, we will commission the Chinese Medicine Hospital of Hong Kong this year. We will have a screening or testing institute in the vicinity. We will have CM services for special diseases. We want to make sure there are integrated Chinese Western medicine services. Chinese medicine has proved to be quite effective in providing palliative care, especially for cancer patients. For mental well-being measures, we have a number of measures as well. We are going to regularize the 3-tier school-based emergency mechanism. We will expand it to primary 4 to 6 as well. I think that is quite a good measure. We want to have at district health centers a Healthy Mind Pilot project. It is quite popular. At first, this service was only available in 3 centers. In future, we want to expand it to 6 centers. Now, on labor, I very much pay close attention to the situation. We are going to prioritize local employment. This is something we must adhere to, this principle. In 2023, we have enhanced the supplementary labor scheme. Why did we do that? It is because in 2023, we projected that the labor force will decline with an aging population. The labor force peaked in 2018. We had approximately 3.67 million in labor force. In 2023, we enhanced the supplementary labor scheme, and we have seen a decline of 190,000 in labor force. And if we only count those under 60, it will be even less. We will continue to see a declining labor force. In 2023, we projected a manpower gap of 81,500 compared to the peak before. The gap was 79,600, which means in 2023, the labor force demand was, well, first we have to understand there is a decline in labor force. There's also an increasing manpower gap, which is why we had the enhanced supplementary labor scheme. We still have a keen manpower gap in many professions, including in the laundry profession, dishwashing profession, as well as the warehouses. But some professions, we do not really have a manpower gap, let me emphasize that. Which is why I have targeted measures in the policy address. For waiters and waitresses, as well as junior cooks, we have specific measures. Why did we focus on the two occupations? It is because they make up a majority in the labor we imported. But we have seen some restaurants importing labor successfully, whereas some restaurants have closed, and then they had some of their workers having to transfer to other restaurants, and the workers may be in unemployment for a while. So some professions, some occupations, some companies do have a manpower gap. Our policy is that we will combat abuse. If they indeed have such demand, we will allow them to import labor. We don't want them to have to close because they do not have enough labor. We need to make sure companies are not abusing the mechanism. So for the two specific occupations, we have targeted measures. We have extended the recruitment period from 4 weeks to 6 weeks for 8 weeks. So that is double the current period. We also require them to take part in on-site job fairs. The Labor Department personnel will be monitoring closely the situation. For the two occupations, we also have a manpower ratio of 2 to 1. So we will have to have at least 2 local cooks before the restaurants can engage or can import a junior cook. This is a manning ratio requirement we'll strictly adhere to make sure there is no abuse of the mechanism. We will also combat the engagement of illegal workers. We have been collecting data. We had the manpower projections in 2023. In 2025, this year, we want to have a midterm review of the manpower projections, focusing on the professions where they're importing labor. So that is on top of the 2 specific occupations we mentioned here, so that we'll have some findings in the middle of the implementation of the arrangements. This will help us combat abuse and make sure companies that need to import labor can continue doing so. On targeted poverty alleviation, we do see good results so far. The Strive and Rise program will continue. We attach great importance to children development. So under the Children Development Fund, for the work they have been doing, we want to incorporate our experience in the Strive and Rise program. We will also provide more funding. On community living rooms, the users have given positive feedback, and therefore we'll have 6 additional community living rooms. On elderly, we will have 4,000 community service vouchers for the elderly. We will also have additional 1,000 residential care service vouchers for the elderly. We will also enhance the residential care services scheme in Guangdong so that those living in relatively poor conditions locally can retire in Guangdong. We are also providing more in child care services. We are going to increase the number of places for assisted reproductive care services. We are going to set up also a working group on aging society strategies. As I said earlier, there is a declining labor force as a result of an aging population, which is why we want to have a working group that targets these issues. We have 15 policy bureaus participating in such work, and they will also produce a report on this next year.
On transport, we have 3 green and smart transportation systems, including Kai-tak. The first one will have a tendering exercise started this year to be followed by the other 2. When it comes to cross-district autonomous vehicle testing, we now want to provide a bigger area for the testing of autonomous vehicles. We want to see what it's actually like in operation. We want to link this with public transportation. We don't want the testing to stay on a drawing board on a pilot or beta basis. Now I turn to support local economy. I have launched 11 measures to support SMEs. I'm not going to go into details now. There may be a couple of initiatives that you are interested in. We have increased the expenditure on public projects. We have earmarked $30 billion in the coming 2 to 3 years. The amount has increased from 90 billion to 120 billion, but we see that there is a drop in works projects in the private sector. That's why we want to increase our expenditure in the public sector to give jobs to construction workers. The other initiative is licensing for restaurants. In the past few years, we have been putting in place enhancement measures. We in the past vetted applications after the restaurant has started operation. We want to expedite the licensing approval for outdoor seating. We now put in place a joint assessment. So instead of going from one department to the next for approval, we now have a joint vetting. The FEHD, of course, will approach the directors to coordinate the work of different departments to vet the applications or the procedures together. If there are difficulties, the matter will be elevated to higher level. Well, there is diversified economic development mentioned in the policy address. In Hung Yuen Wai, there will be development of the food industry. In addition, we support the development of the agri and fish sector. We will grant a license to allow restaurant operators to allow dogs to be brought into the restaurants. Of course, we will iron out the details after consultation by the FEHD with the sector. What is important is that if a license is granted, it will be clearly stated, letting people know whether this particular eatery allows dogs to enter. I believe this will bring a lot of business opportunities to these establishments. Deepening reform. There is a dedicated chapter in my policy address on Northern Metropolis. There is a committee on development of Northern Metropolis set up. Previously, there is the steering committee. What's the difference between the committee and the steering committee? When I took office, I realized that engaging all 15 bureaus in such a large-scale project would require coordination and division of labor. We are at the stage where we have put in place planning. That means I was putting together a team in the past 3 years, and now they're ready to set off and to work on projects that bring greater benefits. The first stage is allocation of tasks and coordinated planning, which is the planning stage. Now it is a stage of acceleration. There are 3 working groups. I'm going to dispense with the details because you will find these in the policy address. What I'd like to say is that the Northern Metropolis accounts for 1/3 of the land of the area in Hong Kong. The first working group is headed by the Financial Secretary. The purview is to set up dedicated companies. That includes statutory or non-statutory bodies. I'm sure there will be more than one bodies or companies because we can't just use one company to manage such a large area. I believe that the individual characteristics of the different parts will be taken into account, leveraging on the respective strengths. Say, for example, this area will focus on this industry for this kind of development. Another area may have a different area of development direction. So there will be more than one company or bodies. The working group will make recommendations. Say, for example, to set up one company in this area or one company in this large-scale piece of land or any other different methods. Dedicated legislation. Well, where administrative measures can resolve problems, we will do that. And if we need dedicated legislation, we will go to the LegCo and go through the necessary procedure. I believe that if there is a sound legal basis, we can expedite a lot of matters. Well, there is a dedicated chapter on industries. First, we work on attracting industry practitioners to come to Hong Kong and nurture local ones. There is also, in addition to that, a hybrid approach. That means we try to attract enterprises to come to Hong Kong and then nurture them. Well, we have signed an agreement on intention in relation to an aeroservice company in Europe, an aeronautic company in Europe. There are also other industries in upper, mid, or lower streams. In terms of emerging industries, there is the pharmaceutical product manufacturing industry. It's a hybrid approach. We attract companies that come to Hong Kong and then nurture them to help them grow. We have an advantage in this regard because we have a very high level of capability in healthcare. Another advantage that is unique to us is that we have a huge potential data, because if a registration can be obtained, then it may be used on the mainland. And there is the Sustainable Aviation Fuel, SAF. It is a global trend to use SAF. There is a successful local company producing an amount that is the second in the market. We work with the company and mainland government bodies. The production of SAF requires a huge amount of factors of production. We're working with mainland government departments to give them an advantage. So I'm sure that SAF is an industry that we have an advantage on. In addition to SAF, there is hydrogen energy and emerging technology industries. You will find them all in the policy address. However, I emphasize on the AI industry because, again, it is a global trend. If you don't do it, you will be left behind. AI can be used in many different areas. I promote government departments to make better use of AI. You'll find details in the policy address. Another area is governance. I've been working on strengthening our governance. We are a government that is result-oriented. We have the government-wide mobilization program. I said in this policy address that there will be a head of department accountability system. Management of the civil service is very important. So if they carry out their work properly, then it will be a huge boost to our efficiency. Our civil service is the second best in the world. I'd like to say this. So we are comparable to the civil service of any places in the world, but we can always do better. We want heads of departments to effectively manage their teams. That's why we have this accountability system for HODs, heads of department. In military lingo, it means that generals will manage their troops respectively. This accountability system targets executive departments. That means departments that execute government matters. Well, we have the accountability system. It's secretaries of departments and permanent secretaries that work on the formulation of policies. That is the accountability system. They are principal officials. I always search for candidates that are better. But we have also an accountability system for civil servants in the execution of policies. In English, it's very clear, it's accountability for performance. So they are accountable for their performance. If we task the HODs to ensure that their teams are properly managed, it will be conducive to the implementation of policies. I want to say that heads of departments have their own respective duties and accountability to fulfill. In the past, we have dealt with heads of departments because of what they've done. But there was not really a system in place. When do we trigger the accountability system? Who's in charge of implementing it? What about outcome? That's why I have explained in a policy address the goal and the details. There are 2 levels and a dedicated team. There are 2 tiers. And we have also expanded the function of the PSC, the Public Service Commission. It has an additional function of carrying out investigations. When we have a result, we will follow the established mechanism and the code for civil servants to handle the cases. The maximum penalty for discipline sanction is dismissal. I want to make the accountability system for civil servants systematic. I've also explained in the policy address that, well, dedicated civil servants, we have a mechanism to encourage them to do better and to reward them. For sub-performers, we will provide them with assistance and, if necessary, discipline them. We use AI to improve the efficiency of government, efficiency as well as governance. So we have set up this AI advocacy enhancement team. We want to bring in a fresh view. We want our efficiency to be enhanced. There is another innovative approach. We will make use of a commercial approach in terms of the LCSD venues. That's why we will introduce the market-based business models for LCSD venues, say for example beaches. We want to give members of the public more choices as to where they will go during the holidays. And there is another chapter about Hong Kong's advantage. I'm not going to go into details, but just a few points here. Shopping center, financial center, and education hub. I want to talk about an enhanced measure of the CIES, the new CIES, the new Capital Investment Entrance Scheme. Now turning into a trade center. Well, an initiative was mentioned, but I want to make sure that when I propose a measure, it will deliver results. That's why I plan to expand it in the next stage. The Financial Service will set up a committee to enhance communications with the trade. We want to expedite the development of a commodity trading ecosystem. In terms of financial services, we would like to set up a central clearing system for gold trading.
And with transport, we often emphasize that there should be an intermodal transport system of rail, sea, land, and river. The Transport and Logistics Bureau is trying to strive for more cargo sources. So from Chongqing, Chengdu, they have comprehensive rail networks which we can use. And to the east, we have the Shanghai port that can export goods to other places. Hong Kong and other mainland ports are complementary. We have great connections to Southeast Asia and South America because of our advantages. We have established channels for goods in Chengdu and Chongqing to come to Guangxi and Yantian port through rail, and then they can be shipped to our ports, which will then be exported. We will continue to see if we can establish new connections to have more cargo sources. On education, we have 5 top 100 universities. We are in a great position to develop Hong Kong into an international education hub. We have seen in the past year or two, with more non-local students admitted, we have seen a more vibrant environment with more exchanges between local and non-local students. It has also broadened the horizons of local students. For admission of non-local students, we have adjusted the ratio from 40% to 50%. But I emphasize that we will continue to provide 15,000 subsidized local student quotas. This will not change. We have a dedicated chapter for the development of culture, sports, and tourism. We are to develop Hong Kong into a premium arts trading hub. We are already in the top 3. So we are in a great position to do more. We also want to develop yacht economy. We have relaxed some restrictions. One does not need to have a designated yacht berth before they come into Hong Kong. We allow yachts to berth only by anchoring, so they can enjoy themselves in different parts of Hong Kong waters. But marine safety is of course very important, which is why we will have an automatic detection system detecting the movements of each vessel. We are very confident that we can continue to maintain marine safety. We also talked about in the policy address we'll have more yacht berthing spaces. Due to time constraints, I will give my closing remarks now. Hong Kong has many different advantages, including advantages with the support of the country as well as us being internationalized. When I talk to people from other places, they are often very jealous that we have the support of the country. We have the GBA plan. We also are a platform for bringing in and going global. We are the freest economy. There are almost no restrictions in conducting business. We have a world-class business environment. We have signed free trade agreements with different jurisdictions. We can help overseas companies enter the mainland market. We can act as a bridge with our connectivity. In order to allow the city to be more influential, we will try to have more international bodies set up operations in Hong Kong. That would include the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. They have helped many Belt and Road countries and other countries and regions build infrastructure. We also want to set up another economic and trade office in Kuala Lumpur, so that we will have now 15 economic and trade offices. We also will set up a Go Global task force for mainland enterprises. We will have Invest Hong Kong, a Trade Development Council, and the economic trade offices work together. In total, there are over 100 offices. We cover over 50 locations. We want to provide a platform specifically for mainland enterprises to go global. We are also trying to expand our network to take advantage of new opportunities. We also want to expand our aviation map. We now will cover Southeast Asia, Middle East, Middle Asia, Latin America. We want to expand our coverage to Africa. I have tried to explain our different policies in different media interviews. We continue to want to liaise with the media so that we could tell the public more about our policies. We now welcome media's questions. Thank you. Before you ask your questions, please state your media outlet and please ask not more than 2 questions. This female journalist here. Hi, I'm from Tsingtao. I want to ask specifically about the head of department's accountability system. We already have an assessment mechanism for civil servants. Would that be additional restrictions or a system that is exactly necessary? We have political accountability and administrative accountability. When will politically appointed officials be held accountable, and when the other parties will be held accountable? We also talk about telling good stories of Hong Kong with different measures. How is this work so important to be included in policy address? And with the media, what roles do they play in the government's plans? Thank you. For the heads of department accountability system, an enhanced assessment mechanism essentially, it does not affect the existing mechanism, but we need to have the arrangements become more systematic. We need to make sure there is fairness. We need to make sure there are consequences for those who should be held accountable. And we also have a specific investigation team that is going to be independent, that is going to be very effective. They will be investigating all civil servants. They will include senior civil servants, so they can conduct quite comprehensive investigations. So with this accountability system, we can make the arrangements more systematic. If we do not have this system, we will need to take time to determine who is going to conduct the investigation, whether it is fair. With this system, we will have the Public Service Commission conduct investigations. They are already familiar with such matters. They have already been conducting disciplinary work. So we believe expanding functions of the Public Service Commission will be best. We are also enhancing the assessment mechanism. We have an existing mechanism, but then we have seen the appraisal mechanism providing, well, there are not many that are graded low grades under the existing assessment mechanism. Right now, there are 6 grades. If we have a good distribution, we will see who are the outstanding civil servants, and it would be easier for us to make recommendations in promotion. Right now, it is hard to differentiate civil servants. It is not fair either if we have one performing well but getting the same grade, say C or D, or B or C as other staff members. I would say that I've experienced something similar, and we have to be promoted through the ranks. So we want to have a fair assessment mechanism, and the Civil Service Bureau is exploring ways to make this assessment mechanism fairer and clearer, so that we will have 6 clearly defined grades. Or if we have 3 grades, the grades should still be clearly defined. for facilitation of decisions, say recommendations for promotions. With an unfair assessment mechanism for the ones who are performing well, it is unfair. And I believe most of the civil servants are elites, which is why we are ranked second in the world rankings. We want to make things more systematic to instill confidence in citizens. It is also to enhance transparency and certainty so that civil servants will generally be able to gauge what their grades are. We also want to help the media promote their services outside Hong Kong. It is because the media in Hong Kong are outstanding and we should promote your services in different places. We also understand that media outlets are facing difficulties in operations. If we can help the media expand their markets, we are already doing that for businesses. If we can help media outlets who are professional media outlets, we want to help them expand their markets and tell good stories of Hong Kong. The media also have their own networks. If they have a network with mainland and overseas media outlets, it is better for us to tell good stories of Hong Kong. But of course, we're taking things step by step. This is the first time I am seriously considering how we can promote the good services of Hong Kong to different parts of the world, to tell the good stories of Hong Kong. This also shows the unity of Hong Kong.
The gentleman on the left, second row. I'm from Mingpao. First question. In the Metropolis Plaza, there will be dedicated legislation and different treatments. Would that be a special region in a special region? How do you prevent certain individuals, enterprises from abusing their rights? How do you hold them accountable? You mentioned that there will be at least one dedicated company or body. Does it mean that because of the huge interest is involved, you want to avoid the interests to be focused in the hands of just one single company? You also mentioned about tax concessions for key industries. Does it mean that for these key industries, the government will charge the lower than usual tax rate? How does it work? Will it be unfair to other enterprises? The Northern Metropolis has a strategic development area. There are 3 major areas. We want to develop them as soon as possible and attract industries to anchor there as soon as possible so that the living environment will improve, there will be more jobs and plenty more opportunities. So I am deeply concerned about the development of the Northern Metropolis. How do we expedite development? People talk about removing areas. If we can handle it through administrative measures, we will do that. There are also innovative approaches, say for example, dedicated legislation. The merit is that it will be orderly and transparent. There may be dedicated legislation in the Northern Metropolis, but these dedicated legislation will have a specified scope of application. Well, let me give you an example. If you are in the Northern Metropolis and commit robbery, you will still be held liable. We want to expedite the development of the Northern Metropolis. We want to make use of dedicated legislation to achieve that. For example, we set up a statutory organization. The current regime is that we'll have to go through the LegCo. Can we do it by way of a subsidiary legislation, by putting in place a framework? That's what I mean by dedicated legislation to expedite the process. We want to put down legal basis to ensure that everything is done right. The area of the Northern Metropolis is vast. We have to develop through different fronts. Well, if there is only one company in charge of the management, then people will be concerned, because we're talking about 1/3 of the area of Hong Kong in the hands of one company in terms of management. This will not serve Hong Kong well. What we can do is that we look at the different areas. We develop the area along this line. If for a different area, the expertise or the advantage lies in a different area, then there will be a different development direction. The company will take the area towards a different direction. We want to ensure that the overall interest of Hong Kong is served. This is a large-scale project. Of course, there is a part to play for the business sector. The government will work with the business sector. We need to combine an efficient market with a capable government. But we need to ensure that it's in line with the different interests, including legal matters and the overall interests of Hong Kong. We have policy packages. We came up with this idea because we have heard views from different sectors. We were told that in a discussion at a certain stage on a certain matter, say for example land grant, capital input, they would like the government to put in some funding in addition to some other policies. We have already got a series, an array of tools in our toolbox. We can just pick and choose what is suitable and beneficial. In the end, it is the FS who makes a decision. We have been very successful in terms of attracting enterprises. More than one enterprise told us that, well, another place offers them a policy or a deal that we can't give them. We realize that, and if we provide preferential policy packages, the FS will make a decision having taken into account international norm and practices. We want to overcome difficulties. We want to make sure that we would not lose out in terms of time procedure, and policies to others. If you have that in your toolbox, I will make sure that I have the same in mind. We may not use the same policy in the same way, but if there is, say, a spanner in that toolbox, I want to make sure that I have a spanner in mind. In the second row, gentlemen. I'm from CCTV. Northern Metropolis is a new chapter in Hong Kong's development. It is an important chapter. You will lead a committee on development of Northern Metropolis, working on dedicated policies. So when it comes to the layout of different industries in the northern metropolis, what is the significance? You also said in the policy address that you will put emphasis on helping enterprises going global. When it comes to emerging markets, say for example Middle East, ASEP countries, what are your initiatives? What do you think it will do to Hong Kong's status as an international center? The Northern Metropolis has a strategic development significance. In the Northern Metropolis, industry development is very important. That's why we have a dedicated chapter on the development of industries, because it sets the direction of the development. We're very successful in our pillar industries, in, say, for example, trade, financial services. But physical industry is also as important as the service industry. We want to strengthen our industries. We want to secure employment. We want to attract enterprises and nurture local industries. Want to attract industries to come to Hong Kong and nurture local ones. It is a dual-pronged approach, going in tandem. So that's why we need to have policies on industries. We think that high-value adding emerging industries are very important to Hong Kong. That's why we have signed an agreement on intention with an aeronautic service company. I think there is huge potential in Asia. In Hong Kong, we offer connectivity and synergy with other streams as well. In terms of healthcare, we have an advantage because we have high quality service. We also can make use of the data in the mainland market. When it comes to emerging industries, we have sustainable aviation fuel. It is a global trend. We have a Hong Kong company producing SAF. It's the second largest SAF producing company in the world. We're working with mainland government departments to help the company find factors of production on the mainland. So we provide assistance when it's necessary. We help them to grow. We want to create positive interaction with mid and lower stream. There is development potential for hydrogen energy. We work on a complementary way. Hong Kong is a good platform to help enterprises to go global. There is the hydrogen energy corridor in the Guangdong province that covers production and transportation. As I said, there is huge potential. We want to make sure that there is complementarity. So the hydrogen energy corridor is important. Well, that's the importance of industries. We have we help the food industry, the agri and fish industry to develop. We want to enable a diversified economy. And there is something that I have been working on in the past 3 years. We've been working, doing our work in the Middle East. There are plenty of opportunities in ASEAN countries because of the proximity and frequent interaction. From my contact with ASEAN countries, I feel that we have a lot of common ground. We have the same goal. We can work together for development. So of course, we will step up on our work with ASEAN countries in terms of, say, financial sector. There are about over 20 exchanges that have signed agreement with us for secondary listing. So there is a huge potential in ASEAN countries. So apart from traditional markets, say US and Europe, Central Asia is also important to us, and they want to establish connection with us as well. It's just like when I was courting my wife, if she refused to answer my calls, it wouldn't have worked. But when it comes, it's just like ASEAN countries. We are both willing, and that's why it worked. We want to work on expanding our aviation coverage. In terms of cargo transportation, we are the first in the world. If we can expand our network, it will bring plenty more opportunities. Trigger a structural change. Let me give you an example. Oasis. They have successfully attracted 84 strategic enterprises, bringing in about $50 billion. That's a huge amount of investment. They've also created about 20,000 jobs. So if our industries develop well, there'll be more jobs. People's lives will improve. We will attract more international attention. The development of the Northern Metropolis should be considered together with industry development. But the industries don't just develop in the Northern Metropolis. But I want to make use of 1/3 of area in Hong Kong to create new industries. You have talked about the industry parks. Well, we have I&T parks. Santine Technopole, 210 hectares in area. If there is competition, then everything will be done well. It's not good to put all your eggs in one basket. So there are 3 major areas in the Santine Technopole. Each area can accommodate more than one company, either a dedicated company or a statutory body. The FS will make the final decision, but the matter is that we should lose no time.
第二行中間男仔係。
Do we have any English questions? The male journalist sitting in the middle.
Firstly, in your policy address, you mentioned that the government will assist local media to expand their network beyond Hong Kong to tell the good stories of Hong Kong. Could you elaborate on exactly what this means, such as what markets the government is looking at, or what outlets that the government will try to assist? And also, what will you do to ensure that the whole initiative will not backfire, as the media would then be seen as losing their credibility when they're seen as government mouthpieces? And secondly, could you also, the second question, about the accountability measure, could the government also talk a little bit about, sorry, my apologies. With the new government head's accountability scheme, sorry, my apologies. With the new head of the government accountability scheme, could you talk a little bit more about, are you worried about that having this new scheme would lead to the exodus of executive officers and administrative officers and worsen this exodus system? And also, when do you hope to apply this new heads of the government head accountability scheme? Will officers or the political appointees that are involved in recent scandal, like the head of the government logistics department, Carlson Chan, would he also be covered under this new accountability scheme? Thank you.
Well, I believe that Hong Kong has a lot of good things to offer to the world, and one being the media. The media here, you are amongst them, are professional. They have a lot to offer. What I intend to do is we do it slowly, progressively, because this is the first time I think of working together to tell the good Hong Kong story through different sectors, participants and leaders. I also find that the media industry is facing a lot of challenges. And like what I'm doing for all the family members of Hong Kong, businesses, industry, labor, whatever I can do to help them, I'll try my best. So I want to expand markets for them so that they will have new business opportunities. I think what I'm trying to do is opening doors for media to do their own things. I will not interfere with what they do, and I think our media are professional enough to impress their partners overseas. What they are doing are not just professional, but of a very high standard. I have faith in them, so that is what I believe is the right thing to do, particularly when I have this idea of making use of Hong Kong as a platform to go out of Hong Kong. So anybody who can benefit from this new policy of going out, I'll do my best to help. Because any members of this family's good will be the overall good of Hong Kong. The other reason, which I've said when I answer a similar question in Chinese, is I believe the media, they themselves have their network. And they will be helpful in telling the good and true Hong Kong story through their network. So if I can help them tell this true and good Hong Kong story, I think I should, again, try to help them. And I also want the media to know that the government takes care of all sectors. I have been establishing good communication with a lot of media friends. I hope I can build up that relations with professional reporters such as you now here, but I don't have the time. So I have to do it in an organizational way, and that is my offer in the policy address. And I think my offer is right, because I do think they are good. I do think they have a lot to offer. And I do think they can make use of their network to tell the Hong Kong story. And I do hope that by doing this, I can make business The other thing is about the HOD accountability system. I must make it clear, first of all, HOD has always been accountable to the performance of the departments. But never in the history of Hong Kong has it been systemized. And without systemizing it, there is the downside of not being certain about, first of all, who will investigate, whether it will be fair, independent, and what are the possible outcomes. Who will do the investigation? I think a system that is so clear and all laid out will be beneficial to overall morale, because uncertainty is not a healthy thing. Creating certainty is what creating system is all about. So I am telling people what this accountability system's purpose are. I've laid out 3 purposes. I have also defined very clearly the 2 levels of investigation. And I've also stated very categorically that there will be a dedicated team ready for action. They are familiar with the systems of the government and has always been involved in disciplinary matters. So they will be dealing with it impartially, efficiently, and effectively. And they will be ready. So I think this is a system which helps people to understand even more what the government wants them to do. Here, I place a special emphasis on head of department, because I always believe that policy making is the responsibility of politically appointed officials. And it has happened in my term that I have changed people, and that is the accountability system for politically appointed officials. So I can still exercise my power under that accountability system. But civil servants, they have another system regarding how to manage them. Their employment is in accordance with all laid down regulations. The management and control system of the civil servants is by and large quite good. Because if this is not good, we will not be number 2 in the world for government efficiency. So let's face it, despite the fact that even I sometimes are not happy with some of the performances, by and large, in this forest of governments, we are the 2nd tallest tree in this government forest. But I believe in continuous improvement. There's never the best, only the better. So occasionally there will be problems. And I want those problems to rectify early so that you will continue to have confidence in the government. Yes, we make mistakes, but when we have mistakes, we rectify it. I think we all are so pragmatic. And when I rectify it, there will be consequences. But you have to be clear and fair to everybody so that they know, those who are affected, know what this is all about. Clarity, systemization, and fairness are the principal ingredients here. Another purpose of creating this HOD accountability, yes, it has a punitive factor, but the main purpose is not on this. Because by and large, I think they are doing very well. There are occasional lapses. We'll deal with them. It is a system to encourage them to build an even stronger and healthier system of control and management. I look for continuous improvement. If the head of the department knows that, well, if there's no continuous improvement, there may be a problem, and then I will be accountable. Though they will continuously look for improvement. So this promotion of positive culture will be enhanced by this HOD accountability system. Your question about, will then people worry about this system and then not be interested in the job? If they think like this, you better go. The government has a responsibility to serve the public well. I strongly believe in the ethics and professionalism of my civil servants, that they join this government to serve the public. Particularly senior officers, when actually in the market, they are relatively not as well paid for quite a number of jobs. And that is why you see there is indeed exodus of some government officials to the private sector. They are grabbing my talents because they know they are talents, they are good. But if there is one or two particular person who are worried about this, then they're not qualified to be an HOD. One thing any leader should feel shameful about is that when his team, who are working so hard of them, they don't get the compliment they deserve, when the blame should be on the leader. I think that is what I want to change. And I do believe that my HODs are all very good. Occasionally, there are lapses, and we'll deal with those lapses, and fairly, because I've said here very clearly, according to the level of the problem. We will deal with them accordingly, whether administratively or disciplinarily. For the bad case, of course, under the disciplinary code, he can get the harshest punishment. But on the other hand, there are a lot of good, very devoted civil servants every day doing their job. You can see them when there is severe weather, they all go out. You can see them when we want to test the Kai-Tak sports stadium. They're all committed to help making this a success. So there are very, very, very many very devoted professional civil servants I feel so proud of. And this is often reflected in the #2 highest rating internationally by independent organizations' assessment. I strongly believe my HODs are very responsible officials, and we will be creating a system that will encourage people to become better.
好，下去提問。最尾嗰行綠色衫男記者。
The one in the last row.
The first question is to follow up on the new head of department accountability system. Regarding the bottled water procurement scandal last month, would an incident of that nature or that level of severity activate the new system? Also, will there be any appeal mechanism following an investigation? The other question is related to AI development. Currently, a number of leading AI tools, especially those developed by US tech companies, are not readily available in Hong Kong. Would that impede your plan to develop AI's application in Hong Kong? And does the government have plans to negotiate with foreign companies to bring more AI tools into Hong Kong? Thank you.
For the HOD accountability system, first of all, the team has to be set up through regulations made under the relevant law. It will, I think, take some time for this to be debated in LegCo. It will be a subsidiary legislation. And also we will, of course, communicate with our staff, representatives, to seek their views. But I must emphasize, there is always an HOD accountability system. There's always like this. There's always such a system. What I'm doing here is create more certainty, create its proper institutional framework, and also ensure that it will be an efficient, effective, and fair system for all. One advantage you will see in this system is usually when something happens, then there will be an inquiry to identify the problems. After the problems are identified, then there will be a second inquiry to identify misconduct. But this new HOD system can combine the two. In other words, while problems are being identified, accountability will be identified as well. And that is what it will create, is efficiency. We will shorten two processes into one. And when you talk about incident now, as I've said, the dedicated team hasn't been established, so we can't have the dedicated team to investigate it. But, as I always said, accountability always exists. Whether this system comes in or not, that accountability will not go away. It will be dealt with in accordance with the present framework where we identify problems and responsibilities and deal with it accordingly. But the new system will create clarity, certainty, efficiency, impartiality, and also trust in the system. And you have talked about AI. AI, I think, is something we must do. Otherwise, we will be relegated to the end of any competition. Besides, AI does help us to do things better. One example I've quoted in my policy address is that using AI, the Census and Statistics Office, they can, out of thousands of reports published by organizations, extract that by AI, and then the efficiency increases many-folds. Another example, which I haven't mentioned in the policy addresses, they may, on one occasion, have to count the number of ships in a particular sea area in order to identify the statistical product for society. What they do, they have to usually go and count the number of ships. But then with AI, with aerial photographing, then they have done an exercise to compare the results. The results is not just the same, is in fact better. And the amount of time saved is, again, many-folds. So AI is a must for efficiency enhancement. That is application only. But AI itself can be an industry, and AI has to be an industry for it to thrive, for it to prosper, for it to become even better. And one thing AI needs is, first of all, data. The second is application. In what area should it be applied? So widely promoting AI application is to make AI become AI plus. I mean, the AI plus concept is very similar to Internet. We had the stage of Internet. We have had the stage of Internet plus. In other words, the Internet of Things. So what we are living now in the world is everything is connected. So it's not just a network, it's not just Internet, it's Internet plus. So AI will develop to a stage where it will become AI plus. In other words, it will not just be a tool. It will not just be an industry. It will integrate different areas. So we may have quite a different way of living through AI, something we have to keep watching and see how it develops. So AI is a must, and our position is clear. Hong Kong is a free port, is an open society, so we'll welcome any technology, any companies that come in. And foreign companies that have been setting up offices in Hong Kong has reached record high, and that is reflected in my policy address. So we welcome companies from different parts of the world to come to Hong Kong for business, AI or non-AI. And that is what Hong Kong is about. It's a free and open port. It is a place where we will have no control on capital, people-to-people travel, money, and also data, goods. So this is a free Hong Kong where we make the place convenient to do business and business friendly.
OK， 最後一條啦，我哋右手邊中間個女記者黑色衫。
The lady in black in the middle. I'm from In Media. First question. 2 questions only. 3 items have fallen below their KPI, some from the Development Bureau. Last year, a Secretary of Department who have failed in the KPI was replaced. Do you have any plans to replace anyone? And the next question is about the accountability system of HOS. If a systemic risk is not identified causing an incident, well, how will it be resolved? Will the new system be seen as a way to shirk responsibility? If there is any mishap in the implementation of policy, will secretaries of departments be held accountable? Are you concerned that civil servants will tend to do less because they don't want to make mistakes because the system will dampen their morale? I want to say that I am happy with the performance of civil servants. A lot of topics covered in the policy address were floated by heads of departments and secretaries of departments. Their performance has been satisfactory. Innovative ideas came from the secretaries of departments and directors of bureau as well as their team. They have given me a lot of constructive and valuable views after brainstorming, so I'm happy with their performance. I would like to say that the accountability system of HOD does not replace any existing accountability system. HODs are held accountable for blunders. Civil servants are accountable to their own performance. That's stated in the Code for Civil Servants. So they're accountable for their performance. The HOD accountability system will make HODs more accountable. They are very committed and responsible. But I'm sure you know that there is a duty for the HOD to be held accountable. That should be made certain. Civil servants will be held accountable for mistakes they have made. That's very clear. When we have built-in certainty in the system, then a healthier and more efficient management system is established. HOD will intervene when there are problems, say for example by providing assistance, advice. and if necessary, make a decision. There is a two-tier mechanism under the accountability system of HODs. I have stated very clearly what is categorized under Tier 1 and 2. If it's Tier 1, well, the HOD or the secretaries of department may take up the investigation. Or trigger the system. The activation mechanism is clearly stated. If it meets one of the three scenarios under Tier 1, then the Director of Bureau can activate the investigation. The circumstances of the matter will be considered before a decision is made as to who will activate the mechanism. I believe that there are many more opportunities for you to ask questions. I'm sure that you will need time to read through the policy address because there are 38,000 words. I'm sure you will have more questions. Secretaries of departments and directors of bureau will, starting from tomorrow, hold various press conferences giving you further details. Of course, I will do interviews on different occasions. I haven't stopped since this morning. I'm sure you have been working very hard. I thank you all for your questions. It shows that you have read the policy address and you have had a very good understanding. Through your coverage, you'll give a better understanding to the general public about our policies. I might not be able to elaborate enough in the policy address, but I thank you for your help. Thank you.